real estate agent? Are you looking to acquire clients consistently so you can grow your business and your income to live a great lifestyle? This is Dave Fanale and the RE Skill Builder Podcast.
Hey, everybody. It is Real Estate Talk TGIF, and this is episode 107. That's right. We've been on the air. We have done this for 2 years plus a week in a row. We had a couple of extra shows. So we're here today with New Jersey real estate legend, Brett Sikora of the Sikora Group of Hoboken, New Jersey. Brett, thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Cool. I mean, I met Brett over a year ago. We started collaborating on a lot of different things. It was really cool. So, Brett, this is Real Estate Talk TGIF. Do you know what the TGIF stands for?
Thank God it's Fanale.
That is correct, sir.
I've been around you long enough.
Yes, it is. Thank God it's Fanale. It used to be Friday, but we've changed that around to make it work for everything. And I didn't name the show that way. It just happened, right? So we've been on a little over 2 years. We've done shows down to Jersey Shore. We've done them in Florida. We've done them in Boston. We've done them all over the place. And we've also done them in Memphis too. But anyway, so Brett, you've been in the real estate business for a while. You've started growing a team. You got one of the fastest growing teams in the country, fast as far as units, as far as everything else. Talk to me about your background, how you got into this. What were you doing first, and how did you get to where you are today?
Yeah, so I'll run through it pretty quickly, but a little bit about me. Barely graduated high school, didn't go to college. Sold my high school car that my father had purchased for me, and started a landscaping company with that money. So bought a truck, did the whole thing. I did that for about 4 years ago and ended up selling it for about 4 years. And ended up selling it in 2007 to a company in Morris County that I think they're out of business now, to start investing in real estate. So my thought was, okay, great. Let me get my real estate license because that's how I'm going to find all the best deals. Like a lot of people think that way. And I feel like I still get a lot of people who are recently licensed saying, hey, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my real estate license and then I'll get them before they hit the market. That's not true, by the way. So everybody understands that. That does not work that way. So this is June of 2007. The market is just completely imploding. Horrible things are happening. And I just finished school and I said, you know what? I'm not going to buy investments right now. It's not a good time. Like I said, the media was killing everything and we were really bottoming out or really dropping quickly. So I got a job with Foxtons, a real estate company where they used to drive the Mini Coopers around. And it was a salary job. I want to say it was $40,000 plus bonus. Plus I got a company car, benefits, laptop, the whole nine. It was pretty cool for a 21-year-old kid. And it would be like my first real job outside of the landscaping. So a week before I was about to start training, they ended up filing for bankruptcy, closed their doors. I think it was either a Friday or Monday morning, that August of 2007. And from there, I ended up switching to Weichert Realtors in Randolph. Didn't make any money. I think I did one rental, and here I am a year later, fast forward to June 2008, and I had made like 600 something bucks. So I actually left the real estate business. What a lot of people don't know is I failed as a realtor my first go around at it. It didn't work. Wow. I went into the car business July 4th or July 5th or something. I started working for Mitsubishi first, quickly went over to Nissan. And then what was interesting was July of 08 and August of 08 were Nissan's record months. Everything was incredible. We were selling cars. I didn't enjoy selling cars, but it paid the bills. And then September hit. The Dow started dropping. It was September, October of 08. Lehman Brothers is failing. It starts to become, an absolute bloodbath. And I'm saying to myself, we went from, selling 300, 400 cars a month out of that dealership. It dropped to like 50. My sales managers who were used to making 300 grand a year, which was a lot of money to me back then, like watching these guys are legends to me. They're worried. Right. They don't know what's going on. So I'm freaking out as I think I was 22 at the time. So I see an ad on Craigslist that says, make 100 grand your first year in real estate doing rentals in Hoboken. And I had lived out in Randolph, New Jersey at the time. Right. And I said, what the hell? So I went back on there. I met with him. Cool guy, Joe Tamburo. He actually is you might know Joe Tamburo. He's he's local out of this area. He's with Weichert for years and was with Coldwell Banker in Fort Lee right now. Started working with him. And my first weekend, it was October 31st. I started on Halloween in 2008, my first weekend, I did my first rental. So I made like $700 a week later. I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm getting paid. Right. Then I started rolling from there. And I want to say it wasn't all peachy keen, but I never really looked back. So that failure to me, when I see these new agents come in, I've failed harder than they failed. Like if they're doing a couple deals, they're doing better than I did when I first started. So I felt that like pressure of, having a 520 credit score, like not being able to keep up with my bills, having like that absolute grind where you feel like nothing's working and you're just walking through quicksand. I've been there, and I learned this from David DeVoe, is like when you've been there, that's where you'll never go back to. Like that is where I'll never be again. And I think that's the first kick, the first gear of what really brought me to that kind of next level, is hitting that rock bottom. So that's what put the wheels in motion back in 2009, 2010.
Right.
So
2010 comes along, you hit your wheels in motion. What then happens?
So we were doing that 2009, 2010. Dave and I were partners for a little bit, Mike Ferry based, doing a lot of cold calling for sale by owners, expireds, and hitting the phones heavy. Had success, was making good money, but I was still very young. So my excuse to me that I had made at the time is that, hey, I'm making more money than a lot of my friends. So because of that, I could live a nice life. I can go have a bunch of beers, if I wanted to go on vacation, I'd go fly down to Florida, whatever I kind of wanted to do. It was like enough money to entertain that. And then in 2013 was when I met my now wife. And that's what is like kicked me into that second gear. So if you look at when the growth really started happening, it was when I was 27 years old, 2013. I realigned with Dave DeVoe, who's one of my mentors and coaches in a lot of different ways. And I met my now wife. So when you add in the guy that knows how to pour gasoline on something, and then my wife, who's my why for why I would need to be making this, these heavier levels of income, it really, that's where it all kind of took off for me. That's when the growth happened. So the last, I'd say like 4 to 5, 6 years, that's when, the foundation started getting laid to really take my income and my business to the next level.
So you went through this. You were with several different companies, and you were really growing and stuff. So then you made a business decision about your business and stuff, and that was where your change was. Talk about that.
Yeah. So I was working with the DeVoe group. I was on his team. I was one of his right-hand men or whatever. And for me, he was teaching me how to get to that next level, how to make more money. So in 2015, I started coaching with Matthew Ferry, who's strictly mindset. I know you've had Tom Ferry on the show, but for those of you that don't know Matthew used to coach with Tom when they were back at the Mike Ferry days. And he kind of made a transition just fully into the mindset side of things, like really moving mountains in a very peaceful, calm way without feeling that force. So because of that, I went out and said, you know what, let me go move some mountains. Let me reinvent the wheel. Let me go blow some things up. And I started the Sikora group in January 2016 with one agent, one admin. And we started growing from there. We were at Keller Williams for quite some time. I was operating as like kind of a Navy SEAL team, a tight knit, we were all kind of cranking, right. Sort of thing, but just 3 agents running super lean with a virtual assistant. And then basically what I think kind of drove the larger group was more agents kept raising their hand. We were attracting it. I wasn't recruiting agents. We were attracting them. They were coming to us, right, and saying, hey, I'd like to be a part of that, and it still happens now too. If I'm, bringing agents into EXP, a lot of times they're going to raise their hand there and say, hey, listen, I'd really like to sit down to see what you guys are doing with your group. So in 2017, 18, 19, that's when it started to get to that next level. Actually, to dig a little deeper, it was June of 2018. I brought on Jason Joseph as my ops manager, and then we onboarded another maybe 6 agents. And that's when we got up to like that 9 agent count. And that's when we started breaking things again. So we always, we'll rebuild, take a deep breath. And then if everything feels like it's in control, we blow it out of control. That's our fun.
You know what's really interesting, Brett, is that I've spoken with a lot of people that like Kyle Whissel and Dan Beer, and a lot of those people. Now you think about those two, right? There's two huge teams in San Diego, and they're both in the top 100 in the country, which is really cool. But They said the same thing about, we're doing really well. We keep increasing our business. Everybody that I know, including you, has all increased during the pandemic stuff, and what they said is we're just going to blow it up and start all over again because there's things that we don't like and there's things that we do like. So we're just going to redo everything. And that's exactly what you just said. As it starts getting really, really good, you say, you know what, we can do it better. And that is really shows, number one, shows confidence that a lot of people don't have. Number one. Number two, it shows that, the proof in the pudding is the consistent change. One thing that's consistent with great agents and great teams and great professionals is change. So you move along. You start building a couple of years ago, and then you started setting up systems and processes. And you told me the other day when we were talking is that the most important thing you had to do was to have a deep trust in what you were doing. Talk about that.
Yeah. So that, and I think a lot of successful single agents have this same, we'll call it either a skill or an issue, however you want to go about it. But I'm OCD about my stuff. So delegating and then witnessing mistakes, like if something doesn't get done that I'm relying on somebody else to do and I would have done if I were the one that you could run, it upsets me beyond belief. Like it actually blows my integrity out. If I know that somebody's late for an appointment, even like simple stuff like that. If somebody says they're going to be there on Saturday at 10 a.m. and they're there Saturday at 10:15, it bothers the hell out of me. My clients can be late. I don't care. I always add that buffer in, but we operate from, such a high level of integrity that little things like that really, really irk me. So we realized that I can't know, the mistakes are going to happen. It's inevitable. The bigger you get, they happen, but we built systems so that I don't find out about them anymore unless it's really, really bad, which it's never really, really bad. So that for me, like my staff knows, hey, if this is happening or if this is like something happened here and a seller's freaking out, unless I need to hop in, which again, I don't think has ever really happened. I don't want to know about it. It's going to take me away from what I need to be doing in order to continue to grow the organization to where it needs to go. So systems are huge with that. But to go back to what you were saying earlier about Dan Beer and Kyle Whissel is when you figure out the growing a real estate team on a large scale kind of game, you start to understand exactly what you need to do, when you need to do it, and then what ripple effect that's going to have 6 months from now. So for us, it's a decision to hit the accelerator.
Right.
And when I hit it, I know that 6 months down the road, I'm going to break down in my transaction coordinator department or this or that. So we're already lining up that leverage so that we never become overwhelmed in regards to that. I know a good example too is when 3M or when Amazon went into, the craziness and they had to, distribute everything like that. Amazon handled it. Like Amazon grew, they probably doubled their size and they handled it because they knew what their play was going to be if that happened. They had their whole roadmap out where they could just duplicate their systems and build it out and they handled it. Whereas a lot of other businesses, they'll actually go out of business because they got too busy. They blew their logistics out. And for us, that's what this all kind of ties into. It's like, how are we know what's going to happen. We know that if somebody said, hey, here's 120 pending transactions and dump them onto our system, I know that it would suck the first week, but I know what I need to do, like levers and stuff like that to get that all back under control.
See, one of the things that I see in agents I work with and coach and mentor, and I see it, it's like amazing. So I've been in real estate for longer than I care to even think about, and owned a brokerage for 21 years. But what I see is I see people following and mimicking the wrong stuff, right? Because I believe that there is an 80-20 rule involved in our business where 80 are doing it the way they saw the others doing it before that was wrong. But one of the things that you mentioned that is really important, and we really don't strive, and we really don't talk about this enough, is that you've decided to look at this. You mentioned 3M, you mentioned others too. We really don't look at it as a business. So, when you look at it as a business and you set up all the individual systems that you need to set up, then you're able to have a team, you're able to have a profitable team. Because I know, and you know as well as I do, that there's a lot of teams, I'm going to say the majority of teams in this country, in this business, that don't make any money.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just like the brokerage mentality. I mean, I used to have this joke with everybody. It says, why do you think they call us brokers? Right? Because we're freaking broke. We live in fear of an agent's going to leave us, right? But when you've got systems and you actually have an attraction point, or you know how to attract, or you know how to recruit, you shouldn't really ever live in that fear, but we all do, right? So, the point I want you to break down, if you would, some of your systems and how you've got it set up, because I think this is really cool. One of the things you said is you don't hear about anything unless it's huge, because they handle it. Because you've set up, correct me if I'm wrong, you've set up systems and how Brett wants things done, how Brett did them successfully, and they're just taking them and doing it as you would do it. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, totally. And one issue that we have had, keep in mind, we're within a short period. I have agents that started on other systems from when we first began. And even if somebody's reaching out to the team leader for every question from day one, when there's only two of you as a team, that's a system. That's a system you've created. So you have to kind of retrain the agent as you're growing to next levels. Whereas a new agent that's coming into our team from day one, their experience is going to be completely different today than an agent that joined us in 2017. So because of that, there's different habits there. So I don't want to say everything's necessarily perfect in regards to that. And anybody on my team can tell you, if they call me, I'm still answering my phone. I'm not dodging them. But in regards to that, I think that, and this is in our trainual, which any big teams out there use them, or any teams out there use them. It's fairly inexpensive, but it's essentially like an online college course that you can build out the content on and put an agent through it, just to understand, if I have a question in regards to marketing, that's not going to Darren, that's going to Megan, that's our marketing coordinator. If I have a question in regards to an HR thing or something in regards to a system not working, then it's our operations manager, Christina, Danucci. Then if it's listing, everybody's broken out into categories, and the agent is told where to go to ask the certain question, because there are hyper specific roles within our staff. So I think in regards to systemizing things, it's training the agent or educating them on where to go. The only reason why an agent's going to go out of that way is because they didn't know which way they were supposed to go. So that, again, goes back to your systems. That's your own fault for not showing them the way. It's like if same thing, if you're an agent and a seller's calling you at 9 p.m. on a Sunday, and then you're complaining that a seller's calling you at 9 p.m. on a Sunday, well, it's because you answer your phone at 9 p.m. on a Sunday. You've conditioned them to behave that way, and you're allowing it.
Absolutely.
So that goes back to, that's a system as an agent as well, where it's if you educate your client appropriately and they understand. My clients know, today's a day off. You and I are we're working on an off day right now, but my clients know that it's like, hey, I'm out, I'm gone. I'll talk to you Monday. That sort of thing.
Yeah. So I mean, here's the interesting point. I learned this from Grant Wise about 5 years ago when I first started working with Grant. Grant had a set system, right? I don't know if you know who Grant is, but Grant is like, he's one of the kings of Facebook ads in the country, and he had a system. And he had to change his entire system because he spent so much time working on software and training people how to use the ads. Because anytime anybody had a question, he'd have to go through it and hold their hand, because people wouldn't realize it's in the training. Your answer is in the training. Do the freaking training. It's the same with my training that I've got out there that I use for my clients and stuff. They ask me questions. Oh, could you send me the script or send me this? It's in the training. I gave you everything, right? Yeah. when you stop yourself, right, to help them, you've just taken yourself away from really why you have systems in the first place, so you can really scale.
Yeah.
Right. And agents need to understand, our people that we work with need to understand that the system is there for a reason. Follow it, because guess what? It works. Right.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, totally. And that's a funny thing too. We were talking about the other day is look, you and I became, brokers, and you own a brokerage and I own a team. And that happened because we're good at solving problems. We know where to go to find answers when we need to get answers. And that's another thing that we're training, our agents and stuff on too, where it's like, I don't know the answer to that. I didn't learn a lot of EXP's systems when I came over from Keller Williams. I don't know where to go for this or to go for that. Like, I purposely didn't want to know how to do everything. But then I say, but if I were to look to try to figure out where to go, where do you think I would go? And then they answer it. And I'm like, okay, so go look there. Go look on Google, go into EXP Workplace, go into here, go into there. The answers are there. They're all over the place, but
Yes.
people, I feel like people are conditioned to just ask rather than to just type into a search bar. So we developed a whole FAQ page as well. So we have a massive, every time we get a new question that we haven't heard before or something like that, it goes into our FAQ page, and then the agents can actually search that too. Yeah.
Well, that's really important. I mean, one of the things that I learned, I've been very, very fortunate to have worked with some of the great coaches like Joe Stump and John Cheplack and Grant Wise, and a few others as well, Jason Nyback as well. But one of the things that John always said was, you've got stuff that people you've already hired to handle. So when someone comes and asks you a question, don't answer the question. Say, well, who knows the answer to that? That's right. a Jane question, or that's a John question. Go talk to them, because they're the ones that handle that. That's why they're here.
Yep.
So you used a word that I've heard before, but when you used it, it was like, okay, this is like your Bible, the trainual, right?
Yeah.
Instead of a manual, instead of a training manual, it's a trainual. How was that? How had you developed that document, that work of art that you have to train people? How have you developed that?
So that is Christina Trischetti, or Danucci. She just got married, but she's our ops manager. She spent a good 2 months, and she's, I believe, 9 years or so in the real estate business with a couple different jobs. So she knows every aspect of it on that side of things. So she asked both me and Eric Goldfarb, our team leader. She's asking us a lot of questions throughout the way, but it's really incredible what she put together. And she can actually add quizzes in there, everything like that. So we know if they're actually, we were joking yesterday on the team meeting. I can't think of what we were talking about. Oh, yeah. We were talking about, like, for instance, conditioning the agent to do something. We need a week's notice on all listings right now. We need it to launch properly. Obviously, we can move quicker than that if we need to under certain circumstances, but we want the agent to have a week's notice. And we're still getting some agents that are reaching out with emergencies and stuff like that. So we were joking in the trainual, we should have like 4 different times throughout it a quiz that says, how many days do you need before you launch a new listing? It's just a 1-question quiz, and it's like 7. So we were you can play around with the trainual in regards to that too. But yeah, you can embed videos in it. You can have, and we use leverage, like we use Tom Ferry, we use Boomtown's training. So it's just pointing them into that other direction. But we know that once they've watched that, they'll behave differently on the team. And then they know the basics, the shit that we don't need to talk about. And then we can actually talk into like their goal setting and what drives them and what their why is and what empowers them in the morning when they wake up. Like, what part of this business do they love? Because there's so many different ways to skin a cat. And then we'll go in on that. I don't want to teach you how to do a document. I don't want to teach you where to look for that. That's not my highest and best use of my time. I want to teach you how to sell 45 homes a year at 25 years old. That's fun,
Right. No, exactly. I mean, it's just like when I had set that up for my brokerage, it started all out as video, and there was one place that I missed. I wasn't able to adapt. I didn't adapt as well when new questions are different ways of asking the question, different ways of answering the question came up where you've been doing that, putting it more in the FAQs. And I also was, I mean, there's a time change, you know. It seems in the past few years, there's been kind of a time warp that's happened where people that are really, or I take that back. Maybe it's, I've joined the time warp where I'm able to more assimilate with other agents than I was able to do before, right? So the collaborative effect of working, honestly, of working with you, Dave DeVoe, and we have some royalty really on watching this. Sekou is on, Antonio Fadalo, Nick Krem, Chris Chain, and Strawn Ziem are on this, watching this live with us. And that's a lot of royalty right there. I mean, think about it. I mean, they're checking and see what we're saying. But the point I'm making is that you have to be able to adapt and collaborate. I mean, these people I collaborate with, Dave I collaborate with. And that's the beauty of the system that we're working in today. So let's get down to what agents do, or rather what they need to do to be successful. We talked a bit about this the other day, about time and everything else, because I have a big portion of what I do as time, not time management, because I don't think time management is possible. I'd rather call it choice management, right? And that's the way I look at it a lot. So talk to about what agents need to do that you've been able to help agents grow with.
So I think the most important thing is they need to separate income producing activities with income servicing activities. Those are two completely different things, two completely different disc profiles in regards to who's going to be able to do which. And as a single agent that's just starting out, you do have to wear all the hats. You do have to do that. But I want you to have the awareness of what's actually driving income and what's servicing income. So if you're staying in that driving income category side of things, and you can live in that side for as long as possible throughout every single day, you are going to make a wild amount of income. The ones that are the best know that, hey, when I'm over here, I'm making $1,000 an hour. When I'm over here, I'm making $18 an hour. So how do I stay in 1,000 as much as possible? And Fanatical Prospecting, that's a great book. If nobody's ever read that, or if you read it again if you haven't, he goes into like understanding what your time is worth and how to actually break down your dollar per hour. So if you start saying, I'm worth $500 an hour, I'm not going to go do this if I can pay somebody $200 an hour to do it. You're losing out on a net $300 there. That said, a lot of agents don't want to actually fill in that time. Once they're delegating, they don't want to fill in that time with full income producing activities because it feels good to write a contract, or it feels good to clean up a database. Whereas you could always just clean up your database as you're going through your database and contacting the people as well. Right. A lot of people have that where I'm going to make the phone calls once this is ready, but this has to be perfect in order for that to be there. And it's like, no, you can just call anybody. You just pick up your phone and start running through it. And when somebody picks up, boom, write down on a piece of paper, boom, 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 boom. At the end of the day, put those all into the system. When you start to get, bigger, better, you can hire a virtual assistant so that at the end of the day, boom, you scan that into the virtual assistant. She puts it all into your system. Next morning, she gets like the next list ready in regards to that. So for a new agent too, now we know what income producing activities are and how to stay on that side of things, which has a lot to do with schedule and everything. You don't have to be a for sale by owner expert. You don't have to be an expired expert. There's so many different ways you can be an open house expert. If that's what you're going to be doing though, guess what? You better be doing like 12 of them a month. You better be doing Wednesday open houses and then every Saturday, Sunday. Like you better own the crap out of that so that your numbers are going to play way better. If you love sending emails and that's your thing, okay, great. Well, let's use BombBomb them. Let's enhance the emails with video email. Let's take that to the next level and pour gasoline on that. How many emails are you going to send a day? How many personalized emails? Are you going to just do an email blast and get your email spammed? Because that's a lazy way to do it. Or are you actually going to take the time, research, and then send a potential seller, hey, listen, we just sold this down the road. I actually have 2 leftover buyers from a bidding war, and I think we can get quite a bit more for your property if we were to come on the market. Would you ever consider selling it? Like people, that's content. People love information. They love knowing that house went $100,000 over asking, but nobody's going to know that until 60 days when it closes. So if you can deliver that to the neighborhood before that comes out, that puts you ahead. And that's an easy thing to do as well. Facebook Messenger, Kyle Whistle was talking about that. You do it. Just creating a video, happy birthday video, put it out to everybody. Do that 10 times a day. Yeah. Do 10 personalized video, but make it personal. You're not shooting the same video and then sending it 10 times. You're connecting with the person through video. And that's an outbound. So just to go into systems again, that's an outbound activity. If you're getting good at this, if you're doing outbound, don't get distracted, and then have them fall into your funnel. So you can use Calendly so they can schedule a call with you, on days that you're receiving phone calls, that sort of thing. But there's so many different ways to make money in this business, and they all go around action, and they all go around, you have to be focused on income producing activities. So right. that's what we're saying, like early on. What wakes you up in the morning? What do you like about this business? Because I don't want to have you come in. If you're a cold caller, you're not going to want to do an open house. And if you're an open house person, you're not going to want to be cold calling. It's two different personality types.
But Brett, there's so many different ways to do. I mean, okay, so if you're a cold, you just said, if you're a cold caller, you're not going to want to do open house. If you like to do open house, you're not going to want to be a cold caller. However, if you can be that informative, that consultative person on the real estate professional side, you can enjoy really to do anything because you can actually make those calls. Right. One of the things that I talk about that I got a lot of help with from Sekou is how to take everything you need to do, everybody you need to call, and put it all into one. Inviting people to an open house, no matter who it is. And if you do it on a consistent basis, I mean, you yourself said it's going to take you a week right now to get a listing up and running. And that's actually the way it should be. And that's actually the way I always talked about it before, was get it going. And then for me, your first showing should be at the open house a week later. This way you get all that pent up demand in it. And especially now, right? Talk about the income producing activities and doing things. You know what? You can talk about this all you want. We can talk about different things and different methods and different policies and different systems. But if you're going to do it once and then maybe do it in another 2 weeks, you got to be consistent with everything you're doing. It's like, I was talking to Sekou the other day about, I have to be careful what I say I'm going to do because it gets to the point where the commitments I have to keep. It's like I'm sick with it, right? This show, 107, 105 in a row, right? Or whatever it is, right? And then the birthday videos I do every morning, right? Yep. I make them different so they have to look at them, right? And I'm going to tell you right now, it has increased my engagement on social media, and I get a response from at least 80%, if not more. Yeah. So these are things that aren't hard to do. You just have to, you've got to have that business mindset, right? Yeah. Yeah. And people too, like then the fear starts to come in. They're like, well, I can't shoot a video of myself, or I can't do this, or isn't that creepy? And it's like, no, it's creepy because you have a strange intention in regards to the video. You're sending the video expecting that person who's receiving it to purchase a home. Whereas David Fanale sending the video just to connect, just to give the gift, just to whatever they want to do. There's absolutely zero attachment around that. And he's genuinely wishing them a happy birthday. So there's nothing creepy about that. When that's your intention, you only get kind of freaked out. Same with a cold call too. It's like people are like, I can't do this. And it's like, it's because you made a decision to attach yourself to an outcome that person on the other end of the phone, if they don't buy or sell from you, then they're pieces of crap. They owe you something, but they don't. It's just an activity. It's just give the gift, give value. And kind of to go back to your other point, it's like, be the best at what you're doing. And that goes into studying the market, having all of that, having those stats so that like you and I just off the cusp, we can go just shoot the shit about real estate for an hour right now. We don't have a topic. We're just going. Right. But it's because we've done so much there's so much practice that's gone into everything that we're doing day in and day out that we can just rattle off about anything. Or if somebody wanted to take a deep dive into expireds or database management or whatever it may be, I've already taken a lot of deep dives into a lot of those things. And that's what I think the real estate professional is lacking a lot of times too, where they don't know neighborhood data. They don't know, what's going on. We're a large team. So we need to know, multiple counties of what's going on. And if I don't have the answer, I bring in a professional. That's my interesting thing. I'll give you an example is knowing the market, right? So anytime a new agent came into my office, I said, look, you need to preview the market, preview every listing that's out there. you've got nothing going on right now. So in the morning, you're going to study, you're going to learn, you're going to do systems, you're going to do whatever you got to do. In the afternoon, you need to go preview homes, right? So maybe you can't do that as easily now, but that's beside the point, right? You also you got to decide in the beginning, it's going to be hard to really hone in on a niche, on a market, whatever. But, I started working with some people in their niches, in their geographical market, their towns, let's say. So I said, okay, so I'm going to do the same thing as you do. All right. And so I decided that I'm going to do my best. I can't 100% commit to it because I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. Is doing a video every day in my town. And my town is Hasbrook Heights. It's where my dad was in Hasbrook Heights since 1944. That's a few years ago, right? He owned a lot of property there. He had a lot of real estate there. People don't know. He's a realtor? No, he's a dentist.
Yeah.
Right? And he owned a lot of property. So I had to do a video today. So I was out in Hasbrook Heights at 6:45 this morning doing a video in front of the buildings that he built. That's where I started in 1979. And I gave the history of the building and what that building meant to the town because it started a renaissance. People who are from areas, they know the market. They know these little bits and pieces that maybe nobody else knows.
Yep.
I was amazed one day when I was talking to the woman who Dolores from Housewives of New Jersey. I ran into her in Florida. We had lunch together, and I was telling her she lives in Franklin Lakes. I was telling her the history of what happened since the 60s in Franklin Lakes and how the town changed. You don't understand that you have the knowledge in the back of your head. You just got to pull it out, and video through this thing is a great way to do it, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So, and basically, one of the things we also talked about the other day was about this is the way to differentiate yourself, number one. And you said, well, the way to really do it is to differentiate yourself between the high income, the high income things you have to do and the low income things, or what we both call bullshit activity. And when you don't do it, as you said, it's going to take you out of the integrity of what you have. And you talked about that before too. Talk to me. When you decided to build a team, okay, this goes to something else I want to talk about. When you decided to build a team, why did you decide to do it? Was it because you wanted to make more money? Because you wanted to help people? Because you thought you could really do more? I mean, what was the reasoning behind it?
I think it's a combination of everything. Obviously, money has something to do with it, but I'll get into the money aspect of it last. Yes, I wanted to help people. People were coming to us asking for help, and if they do what I will take any agent that shows up and does what we ask them to do, or does 70% of what we ask them to do. Because you will absolutely be successful in this business. So if you come in, that's super important to us. So that was an aspect of it. The leverage aspect of it was important as well. I mean, I wanted to be out of production. I wanted to just be more on the coaching side of things, where I wasn't, selling as many homes as I was back in 2016 personally, and just kind of delegating that out to the team and giving, people that I know were trained by me that I could trust with my past clients, and they're going to give them a white glove service. So that was the second leg of it. And then the third leg of it, I don't think money necessarily played into it. It's a byproduct of what we're doing. And this is where I think a lot of people, which we were talking about profitability, where they go wrong. That's why I figured out we can stay on this for a little bit. So I was like, let me end on this one. But where people go wrong is they do not treat it as a business, like we were saying earlier, and they don't put themselves on a salary. I am going to get paid every single biweekly. I'm going to get paid my base salary from owning my real estate team. Then there's bonuses and everything like that. And then also, if I'm selling homes or decide to, then I pay my split to the team, and I take my own commission off of that as well. So many people get into the whole team side of things, and they're just pumping money into this machine that's not working. And you have to really say, all right, well, why are you doing that? You're running in a full circle to get back to not as much money as you had the year prior. Whereas if you put yourself on a salary, if you say, hey, listen, I'm going to pay myself $350,000 a year, $240,000 a year, whatever, maybe 20 grand a month. I'm going to pay myself $10,000 biweekly on a salary. And if this team cannot support that, then why do I have a team? That's not worth my time. So,
Right.
so with those numbers, it's kind of like I have my numbers in my head. I know if I'm not making X amount from my team, I'll probably fold the team, or I have to tweak something in regards to like what's going on. I need to look at the profitability side of things. And don't get me wrong, COVID with that 60-day stall that we had, that certainly we muscled through. We kept selling homes, but there was I don't think anybody in New Jersey is going to say they didn't have an issue with income during those times. I mean, that was scary, right. And hopefully we don't get it back. But that's my tip. If you're deciding to go the team side of things, it can be a $50,000 salary, but you need to be making money off of the time you're putting into whatever it is you're growing.
Right. So, and the reason I started that train of thought for you was because the agents I work with and agents I had in my brokerage before, and I hear this a lot. I want to build a team. Well, here you are, you're doing 3 deals a year or 6 deals a year, and you want to build a team for what?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't get it. I mean, Brett, I hear it a lot.
Oh yeah. Well, it's like a hot word. It's a hot like everybody wants a team, and it's like I could tell you guys, I have a team. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and that's why you see even the good ones. They all fall off around like 40 million. They don't get. It's very difficult for an agent, for a team to break past that. A lot of that 40, and then it seems to be based on the Real Trends guide that just came out. I'm seeing a big drop off at 250 million as well. Once you get over that, you fall into like top 10 in the nation from just studying that. And if you're building a team, or if you're going for number one, or whatever your goals may be, you should probably know those numbers. You need to know. I know number one in the nation in 2019 was about 636 million. Like I know number 4 is number one in our state. Rob Dekansky was 542 million. If I want to be number one in New Jersey, I know I need to get my team to 543 million. And he's going to keep growing because he jumped from, I think, 350 million to 542. Like he had a big jump. So he's not stopping. And you need to have that why aspect of it. You need to know, why you're doing it and that sort of thing. And then also don't lose track of paying yourself, because that really should have a lot to do with it too. It's not just ego.
I think everybody needs to take note that is watching this live or will watch this, that one of the issues I always had in my Century 21 days, that I would go to a convention and they'd have these top brokers on, or these top team leaders and all this other stuff. Well, teams weren't that big back then, but the point is that they would talk about things, the way they got things done, that never really like someone like me with a 1 office or 2 offices could really relate to, because they're talking about 10 offices, 20 offices, and how they build it with their assistant here and their marketing director. Well, look, the little guys don't have marketing directors. They don't have people. It's the broker that's the chief cook and bottle washer. Yeah. And in my career as that owner, and also with the real estate businesses that I've worked with my family, I've always been that chief cook and bottle washer. And the only thing I say, I want to get your opinion on this, is the only thing I say to agents that talk to me about team or they talk about how busy they are, and they're about to pull their freaking hair out because they're all over the place. Yeah. I tell them, look, you want to do something, you want to grow, maybe you hire a part-time assistant to get started. Yep. I use the example of Kyle Whistler, because he said that the day he got in the business, he hired an assistant. He didn't have a business. What are your thoughts on that? Does that make sense to you?
Well, so if you go back to DeVoe and I back in 2009, when we joined Mike Ferry at $1,000 a month, 22-year-old kid, I didn't have $1,000 a month, and I had already lost all my money from the landscaping company that I had sold to. So I took the leap of faith there, and then we also hired a part-time assistant too. So she was that was before like virtual assistants really existed. So she would come into our office. She was a school teacher or teacher's assistant, something like that. She'd come into our office at 3 p.m. after school let out. And she was there till about 8. She'd clean up our database, put our stuff. Like Dave and I would be the tornado in the morning, and then she'd clean it up. And then we'd come back into the office the next morning at 7:30, and our call sheets would just be set up in front of us. We didn't have Mojo Dialer yet or anything like that. We were just PEC dialing. But that was what we did for the next day. So yes, I totally agree. That's you need it. And I also you don't have to spend for it either. There's a lot of agents out there that are new agents that are great, great people. You can trust them. They'll be there on time and everything like that. And they'd be happy just to learn, helping you out on a deal. They'll go out and run around as a showing assistant for 10% of the deal. They'll make $1,000 on it. They're cool with that. They could do the appraisal, the inspection. So if you're a new agent, but you already have some success, but you're saying, hey, I don't want to actually start paying a salary, you can have an expense-free commitment where only if something closes, another agent that doesn't have the same level of success as you yet would probably gladly hop in and just say, yeah, I could use an extra 25 grand a year,
But the thing I see with a lot of people is, I can't afford a $30,000-$40,000 thing. I got an agent I'm working with now. I said, you don't need to hire somebody for $30,000 or $40,000. How about 5 to 10 hours a week just to help you organize, 2 hours a day?
Yeah.
And that could be just like you said, right? And that was the type of person I always looked for as a part-time person, maybe a senior in high school or a teacher or a teacher's assistant.
Yep.
They're well organized. And if it's going to be a high school person, they've got a desire.
Yep.
To work after school or whatever. But
that's that like front desk secretary kind of organizational. It's not high level thinking. But then as you grow and you're starting to I've also hired wrong. I've underpaid for things. That becomes, like if we showed you our trainual and I showed you how little time I put into that because Christina Trischetti built out the whole damn thing over the course of 2 months. That's high level talent. That's you pay for that. But that frees up so much of my time to be out doing other things. And same with Darren on our team too. Listing transaction coordinator. She's high level talent. Like she deserves it. So as you're hiring, you'll start to kind of play around with like, what do I need for this role? Do I need more of like an executive assistant because I'm going to hammer the accelerator so freaking hard that like somebody needs to be keeping my shit together? Or do I just need somebody to like kind of help me with scheduling and appointments and blah, blah, like stuff like that.
And there's also the other companies out there that you can hire as a transaction coordinator.
Yeah.
You pay them something at the end of the file, and they handle everything for you. I mean, I'm sure you have a transaction coordinator. All the good teams and groups do, and it just works. What would be one thing that you would say to an agent that wants to grow their business to do? What is there one thing? Are there two things that they should be doing? Someone that's doing, maybe 15 to 20 deals a year that wants to double that. What do you think would be the key to get them to that doubling of their business to 25 or 30?
So 15 to 20, I love the 15 to 20 because that's so easy to coach to do even 60 the next year. They're running into leverage problems. That's actually, I have a private mastermind where we hop in with 20 plus deals a year. So they're getting into the leverage issues right now. They're having problems with under hiring people who should not be in that position, that sort of thing, and then trying to save money here and do that. It's the same conversation that comes up every single time. So hiring properly is certainly an important piece of the puzzle. Understanding your income producing activities versus your income servicing and staying out of the servicing side of things because they're their own assistant right now as well. So they're just run like they're the ones that don't have time in the day. They're the ones that are working like crazy every Saturday, Sunday, 7 days a week. And then the third thing, which I think is really important, and I think agents are the dumbest ever when it comes down to this, know where your business came from. Because as soon as they start making money, they start focusing on things that aren't what how they made money. It's like as soon as they make enough money to buy Zillow leads, they start buying Zillow leads, and then their profit just goes completely down. Whereas, and then they forget the fact that those 15 deals they did this past year were all from their database for free because they're a nice person. And maybe if you sent more happy birthday videos, you'd do 30. Like if you do 15 from your database with no fucking, sorry, I don't know if I can curse on here. With no fucking plan. Yeah. I'm just getting into it. But yeah, if you can do 15 deals with zero plan and you don't even know how you got them, but they came from your database, well, shit, let's put a plan around that. Just that's probably going to take you to 45 if you follow it.
Yeah, I want to take that one step further. A lot of agents Like when I had my brokers, a lot of agents would come in. I say, where'd most of your business come from? Oh, referrals.
Yeah.
Bullshit. And they know it. I mean, they got an internet deal here. They got a Zillow lead there. They got them from the systems that their broker or me, I put in, but they never wanted to admit that it wasn't them. I believe the biggest mistake that 90% of the agents make that aren't doing 50 or more are not dealing with the people they already know.
Right.
They're not working. I mean, I saw it so much even in my situation where, I send them a calendar every Christmas time. Good for you. Do you know how many calendars of other agents I saw at houses that I was showing? They left the calendar of the other agent on there, but that's not who got the listing.
Yep. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's keep sending your clients your past clients those calendars, and we'll keep actually adding value to your past clients, and then you'll see us sitting there with the listings. And that's why I say the videos that calling them quarterly, like these things they're so freaking simple, but every agent wants a set it and forget it. I don't use viral marketing anymore for my database, my video database emails, and we use BombBomb because I'd rather send a personalized video to one person than send a generic one to 15,000. That connection becomes so much deeper in regards to doing that. Like, oh, you just had a baby. That's so excited. I saw it on Facebook. Just wanted to let you know I'm thinking of you today. Hope all is well, and let's stay in touch. Like there's nothing wrong with that. But again, it goes back to, if your intentions are wrong with it, then that's a problem. So
there's nothing more personal than doing that. I mean, here's another tip for everybody aside from the birthday video for messaging is, hit your sphere of influence, your circle of influence once a month on Facebook Messenger. Yeah. That's all. Say hello to them. And if you haven't talked to them in a while, say, hey, I'm sorry I haven't been in touch. Let's grab coffee or a drink. Let's catch up.
Yep.
You don't have to talk about real estate. And that's, I think, the biggest block. Well, man, we've really gone over some really great stuff that would help a lot of agents. And I've learned a lot about you and from you. Well, first of all, since I've met you, and I really appreciate that. I do appreciate you and what you do and how you do it. How do people get in touch with Brett Sikora and find out more about your coaching, find out more about your group and your team and stuff? And what do they have to do?
Sure. So I'll just give everybody, my cell phone's 973-590-8205. Just shoot me a text and we'll get together in regards to that. Anybody looking to purchase, buy, sell real estate, we're sellwithsikora.com. We service all of northern New Jersey, parts of the shore, pretty much anything north of Trenton. Just shoot me a friend request on Facebook too. Just send me a message with it, just saying, hey, I saw you on Fanale. What's that?
Phone number again?
973-590-8205.
Just gonna put it up on the screen.
Cool. And that's what we're all about. When you get into the coaching thing, we're way deeper than just the team. I love working with agents. I love having an agent that is running into that, 30, 40, 50 deal a year problem, 60, 70, like it's fun. It makes my brain fire in a way. And that's like, when we talk about what wakes me up in the morning, like what gets me out of bed, that's it. I love having agents with the leaves where it's not, hey, I didn't go from 15 to 25 deals this year. That's boring. Like, let's go from 15 to 65 and get you on one of these Facebook Lives with me and David Fanale 1 year from now, and just timestamp. We can get on the first one and say, hey, this is what you're gonna do the next month or the next year. Tara Plaza is a good example of it. She's freaking cranking. And that's a fun story. So for me, what's important to me now in this world, in this real estate business, is I want agents to come into our world and just absolutely blow the lid off of whatever they thought was possible. So
see, that's one of the things I really admire about you and your group and your team and stuff. And I've seen it with Dave as well, is that you mentioned Tara, right? I met her, probably 8 months ago, and seeing how she's just grown this year. And you think about what she's had to grow through, right? And what we've gone through the past few months. And people that's the difference between you and a lot of other team leaders and business owners, where you're taking your personal look at it and making sure your systems are set up to support your personal assistants, if you know what I mean by that, right?
Right.
So we come to the time of the show where it's at the end, and I know why you did come on the show, because you've seen DeVoe get it. I mean, the other day we had Sekou had one, and everybody else. And I know you're looking to get the hat, right?
I came on for the hat, man. That's actually the only reason I'm friends with you.
I heard that.
I just wanted that hat.
I heard that, and I am going to see you tomorrow, so I'm going to deliver it in person.
Yeah. This 15-month relationship's just been to get that hat.
Well, I'm going to have a special surprise for you tomorrow too, that you don't know about yet. So I'll have that for you tomorrow. But awesome. Everybody, Brett, thank you so much for coming on. You're one of my favorite people in this business and in life. I mean, your sincerity comes before you do, and that's just an amazing thing. And I appreciate you. I appreciate what you stand for, and thank you so much for coming on. And I'm going to see you soon. Just stay on for a second. Hey, everybody, thanks for coming on. Thanks for watching. And we are out. We'll see you next week. And we've got, you know what? I don't remember who I have on next week, but it's going to be a great guest. I promise you.